We may sometimes be asked to either add or subtract fractions from one another. One of the main areas that we're looking for here is the denominator. So that is the bottom part of the fraction. To make it easier to either add or subtract fractions from one another, we look to have a common denominator, so the same number on the bottom part of our fractions. If we have a question such as 2/5 plus 1/5, that is an easy sum to do because we have the same number or same denominator at the bottom part of our fraction. So 2/5 plus 1/5 is 3/5. Now, if we are given a question such as 2/5 plus 3/10, we obviously have two different denominators there, a 5 and a 10. Now we're looking for a number that both 5 and 10 go into, or divide into evenly. Now 10 goes into 10 once, 5 divides into 10 or goes into 10 twice, so we'll pick the number 10 for our common denominator. Now the 3/10 or the 3/10, that is already written in tenths, so we will leave that alone. We're going to look to convert the 2/5 into tenths. Now, as I said, the 5 goes into 10 twice, so we would multiply the 5 by 2. What we do to the bottom part of the fraction, we must do to the top part. So we will multiply these 2 by 2 as well. If we do so, we will turn 2/5 into 4/10. And now that we have a common denominator, the same number on bottom part of each fraction, 4/10 plus 3/10 we know will give us an answer of 7/10. And at this point, if you are able to, it would be best practice to simplify our fractions, simplify our answers. In this case we can't because 7 is a prime number, so we can't simplify it any further. Now if we look at subtracting fractions, if we're given a problem such as 3/7 take away 1/5, again they are two different denominators, two different bottom numbers. The way that we can look at it is we'll look at a number that both 7 and 5 divide into evenly. If we are ever struggling to find a number that the denominators divide into, we could multiply the denominators by each other. That way we know that both those numbers will divide into the resulting product. So if we multiply 7 by 5, we get 35. We know that 7 goes into and divides into 35 5 times, and we know that 5 divides into 35 7 times. So we will choose that as our common denominator. If we do so, as I said, 7, we multiply that by 5, so we have to multiply the top part of the fraction by 5. If we do so, we will change 3/7, or 3/7, into 15/35, or 15/35. Now we'll look at the fifth, so we will multiply both the top part and the bottom part by 7, because 7 5s are 35. So we will change 1/5, if we multiply the top and bottom by 7, into 7/35, or 7/35. Now we have a much easier problem to manage because both the denominators are exactly the same, they're over 35. So we have 15/35, take away 7/35, and that will leave us with 8/35, or 8/35. Now here we would simplify if we could, but there are no numbers that will divide evenly into both 8 and 35. So the main thing to take away from this video and looking at adding and subtracting fractions is to find a common denominator for both fractions. And remember that when you are converting a fraction, say if we said 1/5 into tenths, we know that we multiply the 5 by 2 to get to 10, but we have to multiply the top part of the fraction by the same amount as well to get an equivalent fraction to 1/5. If you remember those, you will make it much easier to add and subtract fractions from one another. Now, I hope this has helped and you know a little bit more about adding and subtracting fractions.
Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.